Excellencies, honored guests, alumni, members of the faculty and staff, candidates for degrees, friends, President Fadlu Khouri, I declare that this 147th commencement of the American University of Beirut to be now assembled and in session for the purpose of the day. I also proclaim open the 14th ceremony since 1969 for the awarding of honorary doctorates at the American University of Beirut. By conferring degrees on these outstanding individuals, AUB reaffirms the institutional values that have been the foundation of its excellence and of its renown.
Your Excellencies, esteemed guests, our great Board of Trustees, friends, parents, and families of our outstanding students, our superb faculty and staff, and yes, our wonderful and exceptional graduates from the AUB class of 2016. I am honored to greet you and thank you for being here on this very special evening. أصحاب المعالي والسعادة والسيادة، ضيوفنا الكرام، حضرات أعضاء مجلس الأمناء الأجلاء، أهالي وعائلات طلابنا المميزين، أعضاء الهيئة التعليمية والإداريين الرائعين، ونعم خريجو الAUB الرائعين والاستثنائيين للعام 2016. إنه لشرف لي أن أرحب بكم أحر الترحيب وأشكركم على وجودكم هنا في هذه الأمسية الرائعة. Excellences, invités distingués, membres du conseil d'administration, très chers parents et familles de nos remarquables étudiants, nos exceptionnels diplômes de la promotion 2016, sans oublier évidemment notre unique corps professoral et administratif. Chers tous, j'ai l'honneur de vous accueillir à cette soirée qui s'annonce spéciale. Finally, in Spanish. Where is Dr. Zaghloul? Su Excelencias, estimados invitados, Gran Junta de Beneficiarios, familiares de nuestros excepcionales alumnos, nuestros magníficos profesores y staff, y por supuesto nuestros maravillosos graduandos del AUB del clase del 2016. Estoy honorado de poder saludarlos y es un placer tenerlos a todos aquí en esta noche tan especial. Well, if you want to make enemies, try to change something, said Woodrow Wilson. It has been a long and winding and unforgettable road. 3, 4, 5, or more years ago, today, you came here full of hopes and dreams and expectations, hopes and dreams that we hope we have nourished and enhanced, even in the midst of emotional, economic, and political upheaval. You leave today equipped with knowledge, with power, and with the belief that you can effect positive change in this world. You have learned much while you are at AUB. You have gained knowledge and confidence and resilience, and you have learned teamwork. Like our magnificent sportswomen and men who sublimate their own egos for the greater good, of the team, you have had to play intellectual tennis, social football, and mental jiu-jitsu. You've emerged stronger and wiser, and yes, now you are ready to start to fly without the safety net. You, the best and the brightest, emerge from your parental cocoon of safety into the social maelstrom that is AUB, immersed in Lebanese and regional and international politics and economics. Now, you enter the world with your judgment sharpened and your views, whatever they may be, tested, remolded, and strengthened. Please look around you at your classmates. Today you will celebrate together. Tomorrow you will step forth into the world knowing that you are more confident, more able, more resilient, and yes, more determined than you were when you first walked through these timeless gates to be forever transformed. And now it is my distinct pleasure to introduce the student speaker for this commencement. Could Dr. soon-to-be Dr. Jana Gulmiya, a candidate, the student speaker for this commencement. Could Dr. soon-to-be Dr. Jana Gulmiya, a candidate for the degree of Doctor of Medicine, please join me. From the left.
Thank you, Doctor. Your Excellencies, esteemed guests, faculty members, families, friends, and graduating class of 2016. Not only is it an honor for me to be receiving my medical degree from the American University of Beirut tonight, but it also humbles me to be a part of the graduating class of 2016 on AUB's 150th anniversary. 7 years ago, I arrived at the main gate to my native country, but to whom I was a stranger all the same. I didn't know what to expect. All I knew is what I aspired to be. I had a certain dream, and I was willing to work hard for it, just like everyone else here tonight. They told us it was going to be a long path, that med school would be a very tough journey. Well, they weren't mistaken. All those nights we spent awake, the dreadful sound of your pagers, and the nights you spent with the cadavers, none of it was easy, but also wasn't always gratifying. However, the journey did not lack in happy times. All the laughs we had together, all the times we felt pride while walking with our prim white coats. Tonight, it all feels worth it. The steps we take across the stage tonight will be the first ones we walk in our separate paths. This institution, however, the institution that has become home to us, will forever bind us together. AUB did not only give us the knowledge that we have tonight, but nor the degrees that we hold. It was the community that we grew fond of belonging to. In a diverse student body that is rarely found in our part of the world, it taught us accommodation. Placing all of its students on the same platform, it taught us justice and equality. It is here that we all learned how to communicate better, not only with our patients, but together as well. It is here that we learned how to persevere and work for our goals, even when they felt forever out of reach. We learned that in order for us to become invaluable, we must reach far and beyond what is required of us. My fellow graduates, it is from here that I hope that we will not only use our degrees in our clinics or our offices, but that they become a tool in a greater quest for healing. The time has come for us to attempt to refine our own communities, to give back to those who supported us and to those less fortunate. AUB provided us with the foundation for greatness, as it has done for the past 149 generations before us. And on that, we shall now build our own identities. Our turn has come to invest the knowledge that we harvested to help a community that greatly needs us in a country that still lacks proficient medical care in all of its regions. John Donne said, "No man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent and a part of the main." So let us take what AUB has taught us along with the activism it has instilled in us, and use it to benefit each of our continents, and even more, to try and benefit our main. Of course, none of this would have been possible without the support of those who love us: mothers, fathers, siblings, and family members. No words can express our gratitude, so thank you. To our professors, your mentorship and advice guided us throughout this journey, so thank you. To all the administrators and hospital staff, your hard work is much appreciated, so thank you. To every patient and their families, the trust that you instilled in us and in AUB, we hopefully place that in place, so thank you. Class of 2016, I wish you all nothing but luck. I know that each and every one of you will attain memorable achievements, that you will impact your communities positively, and that you will alter your world in a better way. Stay curious, stay dedicated, and most importantly, stay caring. Congratulations, we made it.
Dear graduates of the class of 2016, you have some slightly older but highly accomplished members of your graduating class. Today, in addition to celebrating your accomplishments, we honor 3 distinguished individuals whose willingness to defy conventional wisdom has led to their groundbreaking, societally impactful work. This year's honorands are an acclaimed Lebanese filmmaker and actor, a world-renowned author and radical thinker, and a giant of organic chemistry and drug discovery. They have been chosen in recognition of their accomplishments on the international stage, and they're determined not to let conventional wisdom stand in the way of their quest for transformative excellence. Mr. Provost, could you please join us on the stage? I would like to invite Nadine Lebeki to the rostrum. One of the most admired Arab filmmakers of her generation, Nadine Lebeki has won multiple international prizes for her movies, Caramel and Where Do We Go Now, Halla Lawain, which she wrote, directed, and took lead acting roles in. The qualities which her cinema work is known for, honesty, authenticity, and humor, are qualities all of us can adopt on the path to a more abundant life. She tackles head-on the stereotypes and the taboos of Lebanon today, especially when it comes to the lives of the remarkable women of this country. With her creativity, her realism, and her appreciation of our very humanity, she has rightfully become an ambassador for Lebanese culture and art to the world. Nadine, we welcome you to the AUB family, and we are proud to do so. Nadine Lebeki, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Fadlo Khouri. You are not only bold and unconventional, but you also speak perfect French. It's amazing. This institution is truly lucky to have you. Thank you, Board of Trustees. Thank you, AUB. I am deeply moved today to be receiving this honor from one of the finest universities in our region, a university I unfortunately wasn't able to go to because it wasn't and still isn't offering a cinema program. I don't know if this is your way of trying to tell me something, Dr. Khouri, but if you are, then let's do lunch soon. To tell you the truth, I've been blessed lately. This year has been amazing for me. 4 months ago, I had a beautiful little daughter. 2 weeks ago, I was running for municipal elections with Beirut Madinati. By the way, many of whom are AUB alumni and faculty. Just to tell you how great this institution is. 2 days ago, I wrote the most important 2 words of my next script, the end. And now I'm here receiving this honor from the university I have long been impressed by. When did I become a doctor anyway? Last time I checked, I was just a normal citizen. I grew up knowing that my father had always wanted to be a filmmaker. Unfortunately, he couldn't because he didn't have the financial means to make it. His father, my grandfather, had an old cinema in our village in Baghdad. My father used to spend hours in that old, poor cinema, alone in the darkness of the small projection room, watching films. I will never forget how he used to describe to me the smell of those film rolls. I wish I could have seen this theater, destroyed long before my time. But it is the image of my father as a child sitting there in the darkness of this poor projection room, dreaming of a better life, expecting the world from those images playing in front of him that stayed with me. It was going to define my path. Little did I know that decades later, I was going to repeat the same scene, but in different circumstances. I always think back to the video store below my house when we were growing up. Like many others, my little sister and I were bored most of the times when we were kids because of the war. A lot of times we couldn't play outside, we couldn't go to school, confined to the walls of our house or to those of the shelter we were in. No matter where we were, though, there was always a TV set and a video player. The video store below our house became our escape, our own cinema, our projection room, and my first university. We used to rent the same films over and over again because the selection was limited. I must have seen Grease 1,000 times. These films allowed me to escape the reality of my own life, the violence outside the walls of the cocoon created by my parents. So when I discovered that in order to create those other realities, I had to be a filmmaker, I decided very early that I was going to become one. And when I told my father that one day I was going to make a film and go to Cannes, he didn't laugh at me. He didn't cynically tell me, go do something serious with your life. He didn't tell me my dream was impossible because there's no film industry and no clear path ahead of me. Instead, he looked at me with his beautiful big blue eyes and told me, of course, do it for me. I was finally going to be able to achieve what he couldn't. So, Papito, I made it through you and because of you. This beautiful degree that I'm so honored to receive, I share with you, my sister, my mother, my beautiful husband who inspires me every day, and my 2 children, Walid and Mayroon. You are the beautiful doctors of my life. You are allowing me to believe every day that anything is possible. Thank you.
I would like now to invite Professor Samir Zerd to step forward. Dr. Zerd is our second honorand. Mr. Provost, oh, good, on cue. Dr. Zerd is a world-recognized leader in the field of radical chemistry and a former AUB student who was 1 semester away from getting his degree when he was compelled to leave Lebanon before graduation in the heat of the horrific first year of the Lebanese Civil War. Beirut's loss was Imperial College of London's gain, and in a formidable career thereafter, he has made significant contributions, developing numerous new reactions that have become a permanent fixture in the field of synthetic chemistry. He has a passion for teaching this science, which he sees touching almost everything around us, yet which remains a puzzling mystery to the majority of humanity, whose lives have been transformed by his creations and his innovations. To you, Dr. Zerd, we also welcome you warmly to take your rightful and overdue place among our graduates. Samir Zerd, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto. Congratulations.
I've been teaching for 30 years, and I tell you, I'm overwhelmed. Mr. President Khoury, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow honorees, let me first of all say that this distinction fills me with pride and gratitude. My heartfelt thanks go to the President and trustees of the AUB for bestowing upon me this greatest of honors, and to my colleagues of the Department of Chemistry who have nominated me. The AUB has always been very dear to my heart, ever since I was admitted in 1971 as a free auditor summer student. This was at the instigation of the late Professor Suhail Bashroui of the Department of English Literature and a friend of our family. I was only 16 then and attended Chemistry 101, taught by the formidable Professor Adib Sarkis, whose stentorian voice could be heard three floors above the chemistry building. My recollections of this first encounter with the AUB were of course also marked by the beauty and tidiness of the campus, but perhaps even more by the amazing Yafet Library, a real jewel on campus. I would spend hours cloistered in the air-conditioned stacks, not just to escape the heat of the summer, but because of the irresistible smell of the books and the promise of the limitless knowledge contained in them. 2 years later, I enrolled as a regular student, and my training as a professional chemist started in earnest. I was especially interested in organic chemistry and enjoyed and benefited greatly from the crystal-clear lectures of the late Professor Kostas Isidoridis. I would sometimes sneak in to listen to the equally legendary lectures of Professor Makhlouf Haddadin. Especially when he was explaining the photochemistry of excited states. Professors Isidorides and Haddadin alternated in teaching Chemistry 211 and Chemistry 212. They are also co-discoverers of the elegant Beirut reaction, a source of fame and money for the chemistry department. Unfortunately, the start of the so-called Civil War interrupted my studies and forced me and many others to leave for calmer skies. While Professors Isidorides and Haddadin stayed behind and continued teaching and helping students, despite the awful prevailing conditions at the time. This is a tremendous lesson in devotion and courage. One cannot go through life without the support, guidance, and encouragement of family, friends, and mentors. I have been very fortunate to have been surrounded by many exceptional people who have made a reality of what science fiction writer Harry Harrison said, that every day should be unwrapped as a gift. To all of them, I should like to express my heartfelt thanks and gratitude. My sincere thanks and gratitude also go to my collaborators, for without their talent, hard work, and enthusiasm, no significant research could have been done. To a scientist, there are few things more exhilarating than the excitement of discovery and seeing one's younger collaborators and students stand on their own feet and evolve into creative and independent thinkers. This brings me to the question of education. Education gives a person the ability to jump centuries and to have at his fingertips all the knowledge accumulated by mankind, especially in this age of ultra-fast communications. To paraphrase Raimondo Montecuccoli, a famous Italian general of the 17th century, a nation needs three things to prosper: education, education, education. All nations, large or small, old or new, that have prospered have given utmost priority to education, to the education of their citizens. But education must also be accompanied, buttressed, and protected by the freedom of thought and entrepreneurship and by equitable justice. When we look around us and see so many countries oscillating between one form of dictatorship and another and sinking deeper and deeper into chaos, we can appreciate the critical role played by the AUB and other educational institutions in fostering the relative liberty and prosperity we enjoy in Lebanon, despite all the severe problems within and without the country. I should now like to conclude by extending my warmest congratulations to all the young AUB graduates and their proud parents on this very special sesquicentennial commencement ceremony. It is said that you cannot put an old head on young shoulders. I will nevertheless add to my congratulations the wise advice of Sir Winston Churchill, the great man himself, who said, "The only guide to a man is his conscience. The only shield to his memory is the rectitude and sincerity of his actions. It is very imprudent to walk through life without this shield, because we are so often mocked by the failure of our hopes and the upsetting of our calculations. But with this shield, however the fates may play, we march always in the ranks of honor. So, young graduates, make the best of your lives and of the education you have received, and march always in the ranks of honor." Thank you very much. Thank you.
May I now invite Nassim Talib to step forward. Nassim Talib has changed the way the world looks at uncertainty, risk, and unpredictable outlying occurrences, black swans, as he calls them. He explains how to survive such potentially threatening global events and even to benefit from them. His ideas are always, always challenging of prevailing orthodoxy and bear close attention. When I spoke of resilience a few moments ago, Nassim would prefer the idea of anti-fragility, the subject of his most recent and most provocative book, a concept in which an entity grows or even prospers from the disorder and the unpredictable circumstances that we face in our lives. I believe he would agree that AUB in its 150th year is an outstanding example of an anti-fragile entity. And we want you to be anti-fragile people as well. We are delighted that Nassim is here with us to help celebrate that gift. Nassim Talib, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto. Congratulations, Nassim. I now invite Dr. Nassim Talib to give this evening's keynote address.
So, I need this to know, is the first time I lecture in a commencement. And actually, I've never attended a commencement before. So I'll tell you, it's the first time I did not attend even my own graduation. So I have to figure out what to tell you. The second thing is I need to lecture you on success. And as you will notice, or you may have noticed, I don't quite agree with the conventional business school, university definition of success. There's a single definition of success. Look at yourself in a mirror in the evening and wonder if you disappoint the person you were at 18, right before people get corrupted by life. Let him or her be the only judge. Not your reputation, not your wealth, not your standing in a community, not the decorations on your lapel. If you do not feel ashamed, then you are successful. Then you are successful. All other definitions of success are modern constructions, fragile modern constructions. I'm laughing. The ancient Greeks' definition of success was to have had a heroic death. But as we live in a less martial society, even in Lebanon, we can adapt our definition of success as having taken a heroic route for the benefits of the collective, as narrowly or broadly defined as you want, so long as it's someone else. For example, secret societies have the rule of uomo d'onore. You're as good as what you do to other members. So, virtue is inseparable from courage. So we had to take some risks, personal, financial, whatever, for the sake of others. That's success. That's honor. It can be helping the local municipality, for example. I'm giving a hint here. Or the more micro, the less abstract, the better. So success requires absence of fragility. I've seen billionaires terrified of journalists, wealthy people who felt crushed because their brother-in-law got very rich, academics with Nobel who were scared of comments on the web. The higher you go, the worse the fall. For almost all people I've met, external, not internal, success came with an increase in fragility and a heightened state of insecurity. The worst are those former something types with 4-page CVs, who after leaving office and addicted to the attention of servile bureaucrats find themselves discarded. It's as if you went home one evening to discover that someone suddenly emptied your house of all its furniture. Self-respect, on the other hand, is robust. That's the approach of the Stoic school, which is, incidentally, a Phoenician movement. So if someone wonders, who are the Stoics? I'd say they're Buddhists with an attitude problem. Okay. Imagine someone very, very Lebanese and a Buddhist at the same time. That's a Stoic, the attitude problem, okay? So, I've seen robust people in my village, Amyun, who were proud of being, local citizens, liked by the community. They wake up happy and go to bed happy. Or Russian mathematicians who, during the difficult post-Soviet period, were proud of making $200 a month and did work that was appreciated by 20 people and considered that showing one's decorations or accepting awards, that was a sign of weakness and a lack of confidence in one's own contribution. And believe it or not, some wealthy people are robust, but you just don't hear about them because they're not socialized. They live next door and they drink baladi, not Veuve Clicquot, okay? Now a bit of my own history. I'm supposed to tell you something about my history, so let me try. Don't tell anyone, but all the stuff you hear about philosophical ideas, okay, it's dressed up, okay? The real story, it all came from a gambling instinct. I can't get rid of it. It's a gambling instinct. So just imagine a compulsive gambler playing high priest. Actually, here now I'm dressed like a high priest. People don't like to believe it, but my education came from trading and risk-taking, with some help from school. I was lucky, I'm robust, I'm okay, but if you're this, I was lucky to have a background closer to that of a classical Mediterranean or a medieval European, before universities became commoditized. My parents had an account with Librairie Antoine in Bab Idris at the time, and a big library, and they bought a lot of books, but they didn't read the books, so they needed someone to read the books. So I was the person, who did the job, so they were happy with that. So I started valuing erudition over other attributes, but at the same time, I realized that what you learn in school is very narrow, so it's a waste of time to focus too much on school. Don't tell anyone here, okay, anyway. So I wanted initially to become a writer, and really, if your knowledge is limited to what happens in what you study in a baccalaureate, Lebanese baccalaureate, you're not going to go anywhere. So you need to be broader, and it takes time. So I skipped school most days. Again, don't tell anyone, but read voraciously. And later, I'll find myself unable to concentrate on subjects that others imposed on me. So I separated schools for credentials from schools for one's own edification. So I drifted a bit with no focus and remained on page 8 of the great Lebanese novel until age 23. So I was writing at 1 page per year, so you're not going to go very far with that. Then I got a break. When I was in business school, I accidentally discovered probability theory and became obsessed with it. But as I said, it did not come from lofty philosophizing or scientific hunger, none of that. It was just the thrills and hormonal flush one gets while taking risks. That's it. A friend told me about complex derivatives, and I decided to make a career in them. It was a combination of trading and complex mathematics. The field was new and uncharted, and they were very, very difficult mathematically. So greed and fear were my teachers. I was like people with addictions who have a very, 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 very average or even below average, way below average intelligence. But suddenly, because they're drug addicts, they find the most ingenious methods to get their drugs, okay? So when there was money on the line, I suddenly grew a special brain that I lost later, when there's no money. So that's, and I'm still like that. So when there's the fire, you run very fast. So that was my method. So again, don't tell anyone, all right? Tell them I'm a philosopher. And anyway, and as a trader, the mathematics we used were very adapted to our problem, like a glove. So we were not like academics with a theory looking for an application. Applying math to practical problems was another business altogether. It meant a deep understanding of the problem before you start putting the equations. So I found getting a doctorate after 12 years of trading much, much easier than getting degrees. This is a random event, by the way, that was unpredicted. So I discovered along the way that the economists and social scientists were almost always applying the wrong mathematics. And that became the theme of the Black Swan. Their statistical tools were not just wrong, they were outrageously wrong, and there still are. Their methods underestimated what I call tail events, those rare but consequential jumps, and they were too arrogant to accept it. This discovery allowed me to achieve financial independence in my 20s after the crash of 1987. You see, I'm very old. So I felt I had something to say in the way we used probability and how we think about it and how we manage uncertainty. Probability is a logic of science. It's a logic of philosophy. It touches on many subjects: theology, philosophy, psychology, science, and the more mundane engineering. Incidentally, probability was not born with Descartes and Fermat. It was born here. Ilm al-musadafa, used to decrypt messages. So the past 30 years for me have been flaneuring across disciplines, bothering people along the way, pulling pranks on people who take themselves seriously, and finding what mistakes people made with probability. So you take a medical paper, for example, and I'm not a doctor, and you can make the person panic if you start asking him or her how they got their pee. They start panicking. So this is why it's a lot of fun. You can terrorize people at conferences, so it's a lot of fun to be in probability. So that's good discipline. So the second break came to me after the crisis of 2008. Again, I felt vindicated. I had taken personal risks, and I did okay. But I made another discovery, the second discovery of my life. I discovered that I hated fame. I hated famous people. I hated caviar. I hate champagne, complicated food, expensive wine, and mostly people who comment on wine, all right? So I like meze with local arak baladi. That's what I drink in New York, okay? And sabidish, squid ink, okay? Not complicated things. Instead of having my preferences dictated by norms of magazines for rich people. So my preferences became obvious to me one day when I was having dinner. I had dinner in a Michelin 3-star restaurant with complicated people, complicated wine and small complicated dishes. And after that, I went to Nick's Pizza and ate $6.95, the big thing of pizza for $6.95, and haven't had a single Michelin meal since. So, or anything with complex names or complex stuff. I'm particularly allergic to people who belong to the IAND, International Association of Name Droppers. So after a year in the limelight, I went back to the seclusion of my library in Amiens or New York, and I started a new career as a researcher doing technical work. So when I read my bio, I feel that it's that of another person because I just started a few years ago. And I still don't know where I'm going, where it's going to take me. So I hesitate to give advice. I described my life. I hesitate to give advice. Why? Every single piece of advice I was given turned out to be wrong. And I'm glad I didn't follow them. I was told to focus, I never focused. I was told to never procrastinate, and it took me 20 years to write my first big book, The Black Swan, and it sold 3 million copies. So I wish I waited another 10, okay? I was told to avoid putting fictional characters in my books, Nero Tulip, Fat Tony, Yevgenia Krasnova. So I got bored, writing a book without fictional characters. So, still I put them in. I was told to not insult the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. And my hobby is to insult the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. And they still write nice things about me, okay? I was told to avoid lifting weights because I had a back injury, and I started lifting weights, and my back has never been better since, okay? So, if I had to relive my life, I'd be even more stubborn and more uncompromising than I have ever been, okay? So here I have to give you advice when I'm telling you don't listen to advice, okay? So let me tell you what I think is robust because I practice it. Number one, do not read newspapers, except newspapers tomorrow about the ceremony here, okay? So do not follow the news in any way or form. To be convinced, go to the library and try to read last year's newspaper, okay? And that will convince you. You should go from the news to the papers, not from a paper to more papers. This is what, okay. Second thing, if something is nonsense, you say it and you say it out loud. You'll be harmed a little bit, but it'll be anti-fragile. In the long run, people who need to trust you will trust you. When I was still an obscure author, I walked out of a studio, Bloomberg Radio, because the interviewers they were saying nonsense, so I just walked out. People told me, you'll never have any coverage by Bloomberg ever again. I said, okay. 2 years later, they had a cover story on me, okay? So if you see nonsense, say it and say it loud. Every economist on the planet hates me, except, of course, those at AUB, all right? I suffered smear campaigns, so I have now some advice to give you, other than some advice to him to help me with, so it doesn't get too wet. Number one, treat the doorman with a lot of respect. Okay, more than if you were the boss. The boss can go down, not the doorman. If something is boring, avoid it. Except, of course, taxes and visits to your mother-in-law. Okay, other than these, avoid everything boring. And there are a lot of rules in my book, so I'm going to end up with no no's. No, the things to avoid completely. Muscles without strength. Friendship without trust. Opinion without risk. Change without aesthetics. Age without values. Food without nourishment. Power without fairness. Facts without rigor. Degrees without erudition. Militarism without fortitude. Progress without civilization. Complication without depth. Fluency without content. And most of all, religion without tolerance. Thank you.
Mr. President, recommendations for degrees to be conferred today have already been made by the various faculties and schools of the university. In accordance with established procedures, the candidates who have satisfactorily completed all the requirements and are deemed worthy by the University Senate to be awarded degrees will now be presented to you by their respective deans or directors. President Khouri, I call upon you to confer the degrees.
Mr. President, as Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Sciences, and on behalf of my colleagues in the faculty, I have the honor to present to you candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Master of Arts, Master of Science, Master of Arts in Financial Economics, and Master of Science, Environmental Sciences. Will the candidates please rise?
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the degrees for which you have completed all the requirements and express the hope that your learning will lead you to advance knowledge in and enrich the practice of your chosen field.
I now call upon all the candidates from the Faculty of Arts and Sciences to come to the stage.
Candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Arabic Language and Literature, Hanadi Rashid Daya. In Theoretical Physics, Amara Adham Asayed. Candidates for the degree of Master of Arts, Mia Mohammed Atwi. Rola Ali Awada Bakr. Rinad Sleman Bakhti. Christopher James Banders. Karen Hassan Baidoun. Salpi Malkon Balgurjian Samitian. Alexander Basil Brown. Jennifer Naji Shibli. Rasha Mahmoud Shair. Shireen Walid Eid. Rami Rene Elias. Ali Ahmed Faraj. Mariam Mustafa Ghadar. Karen Khalil Al-Haj. Mohammed Yahya Hassan Hamada. Danya Hassan Hamandi. Siwar Mohammed Hashwi. Fahad Yusuf Hassan. Reem Ahmad Maidan. Haneen Wasim Ibrahim. Heather Radwan Jabir. Abir Yusuf Jamul. Sona Sarop Julahjan. هديل أيمن الخاني، هشام فهد الخطيب، ملاك علي كريم، سارة نبيل مشلي، مريم جانا عبد الحليم لبود، شفيق توني نجم، وسام إيمان نويهد، شوغير غاربيد وحناسيان، سارة عماد صباح، ستيفاني دانيال سرور، سوزانا جيمس ستيفنز، سمر حسن يعفر جعفر، لانا مالك زنتوت، هيلين هولت زوكرمان. Candidates for the degree of Master of Science: Abir Kamal Al-Ahmadiyya, Patrick Antoine Awad, Tariq Hossam Al-Assad, Sarah Ahmed Asi, Maryam Ali But'am, Carla Henry Hankash, Noor Ghassan Al-Hassaniya, Ahmed Mahmoud Jamal, Hagop Kork Karakazian, Rawan Munzer Mirai, Praskella Munir Murad, Julie Essam Nassar, Hassan Ali Nasser, Mona Khalil Salami, Carol Nabil Samaha, Omar Bassam Shami An-Nasr, Noura Anwar Subra, Ali Asad Taubi, Krag Artin Yugurjian, Jana Salim Shalak, Maria Shamsi Al-Maulawi, Christelle Ghazi Awad,
As Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, will the students awarded the degree of Doctor of Medicine please rise? In our profession, it is custom established more than 2,000 years ago that all those admitted to the honors of the profession must first expressly take upon themselves its obligations. Now, therefore, in behalf of your elders, I call upon you to take, as we have taken before you, the oath which bears the name of Hippocrates. I shall read to you the pledge, after which you will be asked to signify your acceptance of it. Will the faculty members of the Faculty of Medicine please rise?
Thank you.
I do solemnly pledge before my teachers and all those present to be true to this oath. I will be loyal to the ideals of the profession of medicine and its tradition of service to all human beings. I will care for my fellow human beings with compassion, empathy, and kindness. I will follow that treatment which, according to my ability and judgment, consider for the benefit of my patients while respecting their choices and beliefs. I will abstain from whatever is deleterious and mischievous and will not perform any medical procedures for criminal purposes. In the presence of epidemics or other danger, I will not allow fear of concern for personal harm to turn me from my duty. Whatever I see or hear in the lives of people which ought not to be spoken abroad, I will keep secret. All my professional acts shall be for the benefit of the sick to the utmost of my power, holding myself aloof from any act of corruption and discrimination. In purity and uprightness, I will pass my life and practice my art, while I continue to keep this oath inviolate meed be granted to me to enjoy life and the practice of the art respected by people of all times. Do you so promise? In keeping with this pledge, may each one of you be granted a long life of service and the privilege of honoring the profession which today honors you. Will my colleagues of the faculty be seated? Mr. President, as Dean of the Faculty of Medicine and on behalf of my colleagues on the faculty, I have the honor to present to you the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Medicine and Master of Science.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the degrees for which you have completed all the requirements and express the hope that your learning will lead you to advance knowledge in or enrich the practice of your chosen field. Congratulations.
I now call upon the candidates from the Faculty of Medicine to come to the stage. The first candidate will be the recipient of the Penrose Award from the Faculty of Medicine for 2016. Will Dr. Muhammad Raad please come to the stage?
عمرو إبراهيم العباس. إلي ريشار عبد النور. كارل روني أبي عاد. نسيب فارس أبو حيدر. ماريا فؤاد أبو ناظر. زياد راغد العدس with distinction. ريم سمير عائل. تدي جوزيف عقيقي. أحمد عدنان العلايلي. علاء الدين عدنان العلايلي. رابيكا بيير أندراوس. بلال فؤاد عنوتي with distinction. جين أنطوان عطلة. رينا سمير بدران. ستيف جيرار باليان. جاد أحمد بلوط with distinction. كارول الياس بركة. تارا لبيب بردويل with distinction. شربل بشار بستاني. خليل محمد شاهين. نور حسين شمس. سنة حسين شمس. اليسار مروان الشدياء. عمر محمد شهاب. غسان إلي ظاهر. سارة خليل دعوق. لتيسيا فوزي ضو. محمود محمد الديراني. ألكسندرا رالف عيد.
فانيسا أنطوان القمري. فاطمة مصطفى عز الدين with distinction. رامي أحمد فقيه. محمد زياد فتح الله. عبد الله عبد الرحمن فليفل. طنوس جوزيف فرنجية. جنى ملحم غلمية. ريبال نجيب حداد. سارة مروان حداد. إبراهيم جميل الحلبي. جاك مارون الحلبي. أحمد بلال حمد. كرم كمال حامد with distinction. لميعة محمد خير حمية. إيهاب مروان حسنية. مجد إلياس الهمم. زينب محمد حماني. وفيق مروان عيتاني. رنا تحسين الجراح. سمية محمد علي كوثراني. سمر يوسف خليل with distinction. مايكل مارك أمين خزامي. كريستوفر موريس الخوري with distinction. باسل سمير لقيس. نادر وليد مكارم. جاد غطاس مهنا. محمد أحمد منعم. طارق حسان محي الدين. أحمد سلوم مراد. عصمت خالد مراد. طارق فارس نمور. حسين علي نصار. كريستيان عماد نعمة. زينب إبراهيم علي. مايكل إلياس رعد with distinction. ريان جو رشوان رشوان. محمود أحمد رحال. ريان محمد رمال. حسين حافظ رماني. ستيفاني ريتا نخلي صعيبي. زياد تميم سهيلي. ريتا ويليام صاروفيم. رولا فؤاد سقسوق. سكاي توني صاير. ريان هاني سباعي. إلسا محرز سليمان. فرح علي طباجة. تالا توفيق التل. زياد وليد طرشة. يحيى عباس طفيلي with distinction. رنيم تيسير ذبيان. جوليان سليم نبيل توربي. سلمى وليد ياسين. كاترينا ماري كمال زكا. سعيد صبوح الزين. زينب حسين الزين. ندى فيكتور زمتر. Candidates for the degree of Master of Science. فرح موسى عبد الرحمن. رفقة بسام أبو سالم. ديالا محمد علي الحكيم. فرح ربيع بلوط. يولا رستم جرمان. ديانا أمين الغزاوي. ليانا علي الحجيري. رنا فضل الله جماز. سارة حبيب جشي. محمد حسن المصري. نغم غازي راسبية. ساري شوقي رشيد. كاتيا خالد صوايا. دانا محمد حازم صدقي. فاطمة محمد سليمان. أراكس أرتين تانيليان. Candidates for the degree of Master of Science in Health Research, Maya George Barake. Marlene Toufiq Shakhtoura.
Mr. President, as Director of the Hariri School of Nursing and on behalf of my colleagues, the members of the faculty of the school, I have the honor to present to you the candidates for the degree of Master of Science in Nursing. Will the candidates please rise?
Our great nurses-to-be, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Masters of Science in Nursing and express the hope that your learning will lead you to advance knowledge in and enrich the practice of your chosen field.
I now call upon the candidates from the Hariri School of Nursing to come to the stage.
Candidates for the degree of the Master of Science in Nursing, Muhammad Ahmad Abbas. هناء عوض هاني عبد السلام. جويس لويس أبي خرمة. Ingrid Antoine Kourbani. عبد الوهاب حسين الفرخ. بشير محمد عيتاني. نور بشارة جبور. موريال إدمون ماضي. نجلة غسان مفرج. دينا محمد جمعة المزين. فرح وليد سلهب. Hazmig Hovannes Chaparyan. Hayat Adib Za'tar. Aida Hassan Zaitir.
Mr. President, as Dean of the Faculty of Engineering and Architecture, and on behalf of my colleagues on the faculty, I have the honor to present to you the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Civil Engineering, Doctor of Philosophy in Electrical and Computer Engineering, Doctor of Philosophy in Mechanical Engineering, Doctor of Philosophy in Environmental and Water Resources Engineering, the degree of Master of Engineering with majors in Applied Energy, Civil Engineering, Electrical and Computer Engineering, Environmental and Water Resources Engineering, and Mechanical Engineering, the degree of Master of Engineering Management, Master of Science in Environmental Sciences, Master of Urban Design, and Master of Urban Planning and Policy. Will all candidates please rise?
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the degrees for which you have completed all the requirements and express the hope that your learning will lead you to advance knowledge in and enrich the practice of your chosen field. Congratulations.
Now I call upon the candidates from the Faculty of Engineering and Architecture to come to the stage.
Candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Electrical and Computer Engineering, Jihad Jawad Fahos. منال خليل جلول. ميرفت أكرم ماضي. Candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Environmental and Water Resources Engineering, Rania Antoine Maroon. Marlene Ann Tomaskiewicz. كريستيان أنطوان الزغبي. Candidates for the degree of Master of Engineering, Mireille Adnan Abdallah, وليد محمد جمال أبو حويش، نادرة عبد الله عبسي حلبي، ناراج لوفون أداليان، حوراء إبراهيم عيديبي، حسين حيدر عجمي، عشتروت حسين عمار، محمد أنور بعيون، ألان جون باسيلا، جيسون جو عادل بجاني، زينة جون بصيبس، زينة داوود فرح، يارا سليم همدر، أحمد مصطفى هارون، جاد إميل حاوي، لينا محمد حجازي، ريهام محمد حجازي، ميرا سامر جابر، علي عبد الكريم قانصو، جلال أنطون كرازيوان، علي حسان خازم، جيسيكا جواد خرياطي، أورنيلا مارك المعماري، كارلا علي ماجد، رالف زخيا منصور، روا حيدر معاوي، تانيا يوسف صومة، فاهي سركيس سفاريان، سارة أكرم سليمان in absentia، هرانت روبن سلاهيان، صبحي محمد طقوش، جورج يوسف يونس، منار فوزي يونس، candidates for the degree of Master of Science, Teddy Zadur Khachadurian, Candidates for the degree of Master of Engineering Management. تيما أمجد عبد الحي. نهال جمال رمضان أبو غالي. حسن إبراهيم أيوب. رنا مخول الغزي. فرح ناصر غزاوي. ماريو جان هبر. نانسي حيدر اسماعيل. ميلاني جرجس جبور. سلام غازي خليفي. داوود أرام كيومتجيان. نادين جورج نكد. يسر عبد الناصر صبرة. باسل نديم سعيد. كارول وديع السويدي. Candidates for the degree of Master of Science in Environmental Sciences, Major Environmental Technology. عباس أكرم بعلبكي. كارن زاهي جبرائيل. هشام إياد حسن. كريم سامي أنيس نصر. رنا حسين ترحيني. Candidates for the degree of Master of Urban Design. حياة خالد جبارة. ظريفي أمين حسن حيدر. عامر نبيل المختار. روجيه عاطف نعيمي.
Mr. President, as Dean of the Faculty of Agricultural and Food Sciences, and on behalf of my colleagues on the faculty, I have the honor to present to you the candidates for the degree of Master of Science with majors in food technology, nutrition, irrigation, agriculture economics, animal science, plant protection, and Master of Science in Environmental Science, major ecosystem management. Will all the candidates please rise?
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the degrees for which you have completed all the requirements and express the hope that your learning will lead you to advance knowledge in and enrich the practice of your chosen field. Congratulations.
I now call upon the candidates from the Faculty of Agricultural and Food Sciences to come to the stage.
Candidates for the degree of Master of Science: Maryam Albeir Asad, Razan Marwan Beibu, Camille Antoine Gerges, Muna Ahmed Harbali, Lara Muhammad Aitani, Rita Maurice Al-Jalakh, زين العابدين محمد خريزات، بول مارك شارج مصابني، روجير رياض مظلوم، علي محمد مشيك، عبد الرحمن جمال النويري، ستيفاني الياس سماحة، ولاء علي السبلاني، ماندي رودولف تكتوب، أتيل رافي طويديان، Candidates for the degree of Master of Sciences in Environmental Sciences, Major Ecosystem Management: Alia Ahmed Al-Dirani, Karim Riyad Al-Sha'ar,
Mr. President, as Dean of the Faculty of Health Sciences, and on behalf of my colleagues on the faculty, I have the honor to present to you the candidates for the degree of Master of Public Health, Master of Science in Epidemiology, Master of Science in Population Health, and Master of Science in Environmental Sciences, Major Environmental Health. Will all candidates please rise?
Well, the last group was saving the earth, and your job is to save the world. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the degrees for which you have completed all the requirements and express the hope that your learning will lead you to advance knowledge in and enrich the practice of your chosen field. Congratulations.
I now call upon the candidates from the Faculty of Health Sciences to come to the stage.
Candidates for the degree of Master of Public Health: Rabia Haliru Abdullahi, Clara Adil Abu Samra, Guillermo Thomas Adame, Hala Hiyam Azhari, Reem Kamil Aziz, Sara Ismail Bahar, دانيا محمد سمير البيطار. ريتشل يوسف الطيش. لارا توفيق الشماع. حسان اسماعيل شرف الدين. رنا محمد شريدي. جوان غسان قسطنطين. سوسن مصطفى الدجاني. أوستن دونغن. جوانا وليد لياس. مريان جورج غبيرة. محمد وفقي عبد المعز علي جودة. آية أحمد الحاج. نديم رفيق الحلبي. نادين حسان الحلبي. لما غسان حماد. لارا قاسم حمود. كروان عثمان حسن. سهى أحمد القاسم. لما محمد شعبان كلزار. تمارا محمد لطفي. هنادي محمد مزهر. ديالا ناجي المحب. نور محمد النحاس. هلا شرب النجم. وفاء حكمة ناصر. نور محمد الرحال. فرانشيسكا رومانوس. رنا خالد صالح. لارا يوسف صايغ. نور بيير ستيفان. نجاح وائل زين الدين. وائل زين الدين. Candidate for the degree of Master of Science in Epidemiology. محمد خندقجي. Candidates for the degree of Master of Science in Population Health. ريما راضي قدورة. ألين أدور يعقوبيان. Candidates for the degree of Master of Science in Environmental Sciences, Major Environmental Health. ماريو ميشيل براكس.
Mr. President, as Dean of the Solomon S. Olayan School of Business, and on behalf of my colleagues, the members of the faculty of the school, I have the honor to present to you the candidates for the degree of Master in Human Resource Management, Master in Finance, Master of Business Administration, and Executive Master of Business Administration. Will all candidates please rise?
The Masters of the Universe, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the degrees for which you have completed all the requirements and express the hope that your learning will lead you to advance knowledge in and enrich the practice of your chosen field. Congratulations to you.
I now call upon the candidates from the Solomon S. Olayan School of Business to come to the stage.
Candidate for the degree of Master of Business Administration, Fatin Jamil Abdel Ahad. Maria Nicola Abu Arbid. Rita Antoine Al-Asmar. Elie Joseph Baho. Marc Georges Boufadel. ديما علي غدار. ريتا علي حيدر. رالف شوقي كساب. أريج إبراهيم خداج. دينا هادي خير. نادين جابرييل خوري. شيرين غازي مكارم. سامي سعد الله مسوح. إحسان هاني رمضان. إليسار خليل سماحة. Candidates for the degree of Master in Finance, Eli Sharbel Abi Saad. Haya Iyad Awad. Jad Jihad Badin. Sulaiman Boulos Bouabdo. Alfred George Shlela. سحر خليل داعوق. باتريسيا بشارة العطر. ربا ياسر عز الدين. غنوان نمر فريحة. ريما روجيه جدعون. نادين فاروق غالي. دانا عبد الله غندور. مايا رجا حلبي. لين سعيد حلاوي. لميا رجا حريز. إبراهيم هاشم الحسن، بلال محمد علي العتيني، صفا فاضل جفر، ليندا قاسم جمول، أمين منيل قعسماني، أحمد رشيد قاسم، كارولينا رشاد قاسم، ستيفاني مروان الخوري، دارين عثمان معروف، لما غسان مطر، نور عبد المولى المولى، حلمي جهاد مراد، غدير فايز أحمد نوفل، سهاج جراج فيكام فياليان، ألين جور صدقة، ريان حسان شعبان، عمر غسان شتيلة، رشا علي سنان، فرح رفعت السوقي، مايا زياد طيارة، Candidates for the degree of Master in Human Resources, Robin Joseph Abla, سوريا أحمد غلاييني، فرح رشيد حلاق، جوال يوسف نعيمي، ميرنا محمد علي طبارة،
Candidates for the degree of Executive MBA. Antoine Edmond Assaf, Shadi Sami Berbari, Hussein Alberto Shaito, Karim Gabriel Shweri, Amir Ahmad Munir Hafiz, أسعد نزار هارون، فادي عوني هاشم، طارق جلال الحطاب، داليا رمزي الجبيلي، إيهاب محمد خالد، فادي سلمان محمود، هشام عبد الرزاق نور الدين، عقيل فرحان سليم، فاسيلي نيكولاس فاليريك. And last but not least, Giselle Georges Wynne.
Daniel Patrick Moynihan, American senator and statesman, once said, "Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but not their own facts. The best way to know the facts is to engage in research, one of the fundamental missions and the duties of the great universities, which AUB most definitely is and always aspires to be." William Osler, a founder of modern American medical education, was known to have remarked, "It astonishes me how many physicians practice medicine without reading. What does not surprise me in the least is how poorly they do so." So let's go back then to Woodrow Wilson, America's 28th president, with whose words I opened my speech. His critics, including contemporary statesmen like David Lloyd George and Georges Clemenceau, would have you believe he retreated into the kind of isolationism we see starting to plague American political thought today. One claim was that after Sykes-Picot, whose 100th anniversary we sadly commemorate this year, Wilson left the Arabs to the designs of the imperial European powers who carved up the Middle East during the death throes of empire with such awful consequences for the peoples of this land. This, in fact, was far from the truth. Through his 14-point program launched in January of 1918, advocating the rights of nations to their self-determination, Wilson carried with him what you do today, a belief in the rights and the abilities of the Arab peoples towards self-determination. Ill at Versailles, but unbowed, he worked to limit the mandates of the British and the French to a period that would end with self-governance and with independence. He, like all of you, believed that we are best served as a free people of ourselves and for ourselves. The great Daniel Bliss shared this faith in the people of the Levant when he determined early in his tenure to one day leave the governance of the institution to this region's indigenous people, a process that took about 150 years. We see that as our sacred trust that one day it will not matter what background a man or a woman has in this part of the world before they are chosen for a momentous task, a great role, an awesome responsibility. Yours will be the generation that makes certain that this will indeed come to pass. Khalil Gibran wrote in his book, The Prophet and Nabi, "Your children are not children, they are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself." Please take a look at your parents and recognize what they have meant to you. Think of your parents who have provided these and other opportunities for you and thank them and let them know that you trust them as they now must trust you. Aligning the lessons and skills that you've acquired at AUB with that self-same trust that your parents and we now have in you, you will go forth to effect the change that our generation could not accomplish. Eschew violence and cruelty and struggle against social and economic disparity and injustice. Understand all that you have seen that keeps our societies from being more just, inspired by what you've done individually, and collectively here, go out and change the world for the better. You are ready now. Now and forever, you are AUB's past, present, and future. The ambassadors of this iconic city, set on a hill which at 150 years old taught you, as past generations were taught before you and before us, to dare to dream that you will now do what we know you are capable of, that you will change Lebanon, the Arab world, and the broader universe for the better. Congratulations to you, your families, and teachers, AUB's magnificent class of 2016. In this, our sesquicentennial year, go forth with pride and purpose, humility and grace, but most of all, go with and in peace. Could the audience please rise for the singing of the alma mater? Could the audience please rise for the singing of the alma mater?
I now declare this awarding of honorary doctorates and commencement exercise at a close. Will the degree recipients and the audience please remain in their places until the President and party have cleared the area? Mr. President, will you and your party please follow me?